What a great DIY I've got for you today. It's a modern, stylish looking bench, ideal feature in any home, office, or even outdoors. I'm going to take you through all the steps that you can follow and make yourself. Let's get started. Here's the materials that you're going to need. We've got some 94 and 144 plain all round timber, all cut to size as per my cutting list. Take that cutting list down to the guys at Builders and they will cut it all for you. We're going to be using some Tech screws, wood glue, and I've got some feet for the underside of the legs. As for the tools that you need, I've got a pencil, a measuring device, a nut setter suitable for the Tech screws, a cordless drill, and a sander. When it comes to dressing the timber, it's entirely up to you. You can stain it up, you can seal it with some varnish, wood sealer, you can even paint it. So the first thing we need to do is to mark up all the positions of where our Tech screws are going to go through the timber. If you have a look, we're going to be making the leg section. We've got two leg sections, one for either side of the bench. Now you can see it's made up of 3 pieces. That's your 288s. And then we've got 2 pieces on the side, which is the 480s. Now keep in mind, we're going to be joining it together with these Tech screws. What's nice about these Tech screws is you'll see on the tip, it's actually got a little drill bit on the end there. So it's actually going to drill the clearance hole for you and then screw it in at the same time. So we don't have to do a whole drilling operation. What we do need to do is to mark up exactly where we need to drill. So on our long pieces on the side, 2 going into the mating piece of timber, another 2 there, and another 2 at the bottom. You'll see the gap that I have here is the same thickness as your bench. So we're going to use some off-cut pieces just to make our spacing a lot easier. Let's get started. You'll see we're going into the timber. I'm using a 32 mil, so I want it to go into the center of that timber. So 16 millimeters down and then down to the next piece. That next point is going to be 80 millimeters. I do find that using a tape measure can be a little bit awkward. It's very easy to make mistakes. So I like to make use of a measuring device. And this is a combination square. What's nice about it is I can set it to 16 millimeters, lay out all my pieces, and then just mark up. X marks the spot. Now I know that each measurement is exactly the same. Exactly the same on the bottom side, we're going into that bottom piece. Now we want to have an offset of 80 millimeters from the top edge. Also, you don't want to go too close to the edge, otherwise it is going to crack and burst. So I'm going to go in around about 20 mils. Slide that down to 20. I want to go 20 millimeters from the side. That's X marks the spot. That way you're going to get all your measurements exactly the same and all your screw heads will be aligned. Make use of a combination square. You can set your measurements and every one will be exactly the same. This is a must-have tool that every DIYer should own. I've got all my pieces into position, and remember, I don't need to drill clearance holes because these Tech screws will drill that clearance hole at the same time as the screws are together. However, what I do find is they wobble around a bit as you're trying to screw it in. So I'm just going to hold into position, knock it in with a hammer just to hold them all tight, and I'm basically going to set up a bit of a production line and get them all into place. Take your drill, pop in your nut setter. That's going to match up perfectly on top there. So we're going to start at the top, and what I'm going to do is actually do it upside down. Put my first piece down and line that up like that. Now you can either hold that down firmly and then drive those screws in, but often you don't have enough hands, so just going to pop a clamp on this piece. Now, when you're driving these Tech screws in, apply a lot of pressure on the back side. That way it prevents any jack joints here and it allows that screw to drive in all the way flush into that mating piece of timber. And don't forget, wood glue in between those mating surfaces. Keep that drill straight. That's your first piece in, and that really is strong. Right, let's pop on the other end. Again, piece of timber down, pop on a little bit of wood glue, hold that down with a clamp. Okay, now we've got our first 2 pieces in. We need to get this middle piece in. How far up, how far down? That make use of your scrap pieces. They're 32 mil thick. That's what I'm using for the seat base to ensure that I get the next piece in the right location. Right, that's our first leg complete. Exactly the same process for the other side. As those 2 legs complete, we're going to start prepping our cross piece board. Now, remember, you're going to have to sand your timber down. It's quite important. It preps that surface area, allowing your stain or your sealer to adhere to the timber much better. Sometimes you can actually sand your components down beforehand before you start your assembly. Now I'm sanding with a 120 grit paper on my random orbital sander. Super easy, makes life so much easier. You can do this by hand if you want to. You can even use a 180 grit with a bit of a finer finish. Also, don't forget to sand your 2 pieces for the bench seat. Right, those are all our pieces sanded up. You need to seal the timber. If you don't seal the timber, it's going to age very quickly, it's going to get dirty, and it's not going to look very nice. Now there's a range of different stains, sealers that you can use. I think I'm going to go with a worn navy stain on my seat base, and then I'm actually going to keep my legs that natural look, but I've still got to seal them. So I'm going to go with the polyurethane satin. It's clear, it's still going to retain that pine look, and I think it's going to be a great combo with those 2 colors together. Now remember, there's a number of different ways to apply stain to timber. Always follow the instructions on the back of the can. I like to actually use a rag, and you'll see as you rub it on the timber, look at that transformation straight away. I like to put it on and then really work it into the timber. Make sure you don't go across the grain. It gets that scratchy look. Go with the grain and really work it in. Right, you'll notice my blue stain is on whilst that's drying. I'm going to put the sealer on these clear pieces. Remember, I'm using Rust-Oleum polyurethane sealer. Really great stuff. It's water-based. It dries a lot quicker, much easier to wash your brushes. Now, you'll notice I said this is a clear sealer, but it actually looks white. Don't panic. As you apply it, it looks white, and then as it dries, it goes to that clear look. And what I really like about this sealer is it doesn't make that pine go that yellowy look. It still keeps that whitewash look of the pine. So apply that. Approximately 2 coats is more than enough. It's all dependent up to you, but 2 coats should be good. Sealing that and sealing your stained timber as well. Earlier I mentioned about placing some feet on the underside. What that does is it actually stops it from scratching your surface and also keeps it elevated out of any puddles of water if you are going to be using it outside. So basically just line those up, line up in the middle, and then you can quickly screw that in. Now it's time to assemble. Now with this design, as we mentioned, the bench slats are sliding into the leg frame. It's going to be quite a tight fit because you actually want it to be quite snug to stop that bench from wobbling. So line it up and then slide them in. That's the first piece in. Let's go with the next one. Okay, this one, put it in at an angle, makes it slightly easier. Get that corner in, and then you can slide that all the way down. Pop that down. You might want to make use of a rubber mallet, always comes in handy. I love the white rubber mallets because they actually don't leave any marks on the timber. Often the black ones can leave scuff marks. Now remember, you can go with any color choices that you want. It's entirely up to you. Let your creative license run wild. I can see this blue navy and I think it actually looks fantastic. With the 2-tone on the pine on the front there, have a look at that front section. Look at that. I really think that looks fantastic. I absolutely love it. Not to mention the front, or the side, shall I say. Look at that 2-tone section there. We've got the seat base coming all the way through, sticking out the side, and then we've got the natural pine look on the edge. I really think this was a good combination for this modern, stylish feature bench, which is suitable for home, the office, and even outdoors. Remember, all these products are all available at your local builder's outlet. All you need to do is click online, add them to your basket, and you can build this DIY yourself. Now, if you enjoyed this clip, like it, share it. You can also subscribe to the Builders Fan YouTube channel. There's a range of product reviews, how-tos, and DIYs for you to be inspired, get to builders, and get it done.